Venkat sir, am I audible?
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Colonel Venkat.
Welcome you, sir.
Good
Welcome,
afternoon.
welcome you.
Thank
Good
you, sir.
afternoon, sir.
I'm ready. It's perfectly all right. It's 2:15. We can go ahead with the program.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So just let me know, sir, when I'm ready to start because I've got the next activity
Yes,
which
sir.
is coming up. So please just let me know when should I start.
I will invite you, sir.
Another 5 minutes?
No, sir. Just I'm starting, sir. Okay.
No issue,
Dear
sir. I'm
participants,
connected. You just
yeah, yeah, sir. Dear participants, once again, welcome you all. The current session will be taken by Colonel B. Venkat, Director, Faculty Development Cell, AICTE in New Delhi, and he will take the session on AICTE Quality Initiative and National Education Policy 2020. Colonel B. Venkat is serving Army officer from the Corps of Electronic and Mechanical Engineering, having nearly 30 years of service experience and served in all possible appointments of command, staff, and instructional across the country and abroad. The officer is presently serving at AICT and is handling faculty development related issues. The officer also handles AICT quality initiative like National Initiative for Technical Teachers. And now I would like to invite Colonel B. Venkat sir for his session on AICTE Quality Initiative and National Policy 2020. Over to you, sir.
very thank you, sir. Thanks a lot and grateful to be coming. Kare, sir, very good afternoon.
Hey,
So pleasantly
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. Yes, sir. Yes.
wonderful to see you, sir. And
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
welcome. Thank you, sir. And you would see me connected on the mobile because on my desktop another meeting is going on, and on the laptop the third meeting is going on. So I apologize in case if I'm connected with my mobile, but assured as long as my audio is perfect, that is what should be the main aim. Thank you first of all for giving me an opportunity to be coming and speaking. I would be in a quick, be very connected. I would be in a very quick manner taking you down the path which is called as the National Education Policy 2020, because it is very important for each one of us to understand what is NEP 2020, where we are, what are the mandated requirements, and what is supposed to be done. The National Education Policy 2020 came in 29th of July 2020, and from then to now it's been 1.5 years which has happened, and these 1.5 years have been more or less been towards the implementable points of the national education policy. And when we speak about implementable points, let us understand the policy and let us also understand the implementation activities. The whole national education policy is divided into two major very important aspects. Number one happens to be the school education, and number two happens to be higher education. It's important for us to understand school and higher education simultaneously, because ultimately the end product is the students, and we need to be aligned to the requirements of the students. And having understood the school, it will be in a much better position for each one of us to appreciate. Today when we speak of school education, the 10+2 system of education shifts to 5-3-3-4. Each one of you have heard 5-3-3-4 multiple times, but appreciate and understand that there is a requirement of each one of them. When we have each one of them as a point for implementation, the first 5 is called as the foundational stage, that is 3 years of pre-primary and classes 1 and 2. Very important to understand that at this particular stage, education will be given in the regional languages. It's the mandated point of national education policy so as to promote the regional languages across the country. And it has also been proven that a student to understand the education in regional languages is in a much better position to actually speaking undergo the education and then achieve the attainable graduate attributes and the learning outcomes. So regional language now becomes that much more important. AICTE has multiple initiatives to promote these regional languages. Your Khare sir and your CSVTU has been at the forefront of contributing towards this thing. So that goes to the compliments of your technical university under the dynamic leadership of your Honorable Vice Chairman, sir, Vice Chancellor, sir. What AICTE has done, AICTE has amended and approved, given in writing, that additional supernumerary seats of 30 to 60 are now permitted to be given to every department for the purposes of undergoing education in regional languages. To support this, the scheme which has been taken is AICTE's translation process and activities for Swayam online courses. So the Swayam online MOOCs courses are getting translated simultaneously into 12 different regional languages. And another parallel activity happens to be the technical book writing and translation, wherein the original books are being written for undergraduate and diploma for the purpose of the first year, and then subsequently these are being translated. That is what exactly speaking is happening. All this is being done in such a manner that we wish to promote regional languages. That is what is exactly speaking this particular 5334 when we say everything has got a relevance and the 5 has got this relevance. Now comes to the 3. The thing which we speak about, the 3, happens to be called as the preparatory stage, and at preparatory stage we have classes 3, 4 and 5, and when we say at classes 3, 4 and 5 at this particular level, the involvement is that students still get to understand and undergo education in their regional languages, and this is the first time that there will be a little bit of more inclination and then at particular 3, that means classes 3, 4 and 5, there will be now for the first time an introduction or involvement of skill-based activity into your general education. There is a difference between a general education and a vocational education. So when a skill-based activity is being introduced at this particular level, it implies the importance and understanding of skill. And when we speak skill at this level, it automatically understands or translates to vocational education. So as we now speak in higher education, it is vocational education. So there will be a mix between a general and vocational education. National education policy also talks about vocational education and understands and appreciates that vocational education, for whatever reason, happens to be little bit compared inferior to the general education. And after understanding this thing, it is but obvious that we now need to be bringing in at par. So the learning outcomes of general education and the learning outcomes of vocational education will be brought at par. And if this has to be brought at par, multiple initiatives and multiple activities which are happening today. Number 1, realignment of the course content and curriculum. AICTE's model curriculum, which is available on the website, is undergoing changes. And when we say it is undergoing changes, the model curriculum is getting aligned to 2 requirements. Number 1, getting the vocational education into our ambit. And number 2, to suit and align to the requirements of multiple entry and multiple exit. This is what exactly we say the role wherein the whole curriculum is getting changed as per the vocational education. These activities, as we are speaking currently, are already happening alongside a very important terminology also which has been found as far as the vocational education is concerned. The terminology which has been found alongside this happens to be of Lok Vidya. When we speak of Lok Vidya, the Lok Vidya terminology which we are talking of happens to be our regional traditional knowledge. And when we talk of regional traditional knowledge, it is this particular activity which has been given in the national education policy that it should be included in the course content and curriculum for all courses, whether it's a technical or non-technical, as a credit-based activity. Now, the question which should come to each one of your mind, how does a credit-based activity comes into play? And how does a credit-based activity for a subject which is not technical gets coming into your curriculum? Just give me 1 minute. Please hold the line. Give me 1 minute. So sorry, I've come back again. Now this is where exactly speaking the Lok Vidya now needs to be coming it as a vocational education activity on a permanent basis applicable for each and every institute or each and every discipline. Now, how do you do it? It's a credit-based activity. Keep it in the back of your mind. How does a subject which is so very vague, and something like a Lok Vidya can be included? We will come back to it when we come into higher level. As we move ahead, we come to middle level, and middle level is nothing but classes 6, 7, and 8. When we speak of classes 6, 7, and 8, it is at this level that the student still continues in education in the regional language. And in addition, what was in the beginning, which I spoke about, only an introduction of vocational education to general education now becomes into a fully wholesome integrated activity. And after having a fully wholesome integrated activity, the learning outcomes of vocational and general education will be aligned towards leading to a student undergoing professional education. And as a student undergoes professional education, this is a full chapter on the National Education Policy on Professional Education, which says that a student who will now undergo education will be coming out as a wholesome student after having undergone multidisciplinary concept of education and a holistic education, whereby he will not only be employed, but will also be in a position of generating employment, and not only nationally, but also internationally. If that be the case, so we are now saying that it is the higher educational institutes which have got a major role to play. So what we have seen as an integration we saw between school education to general education to vocational education. Now what I'm talking is, in this integration, now we have higher educational institutes also coming. So this is another very important aspect of NEP, which talks about integrated education system. And once we talk of integrated education system, it is the higher educational institutes which now towards their role, towards bringing in, much more responsible aspects of their activities, will be supposed to be taking on certain tier 2, tier 3 institutes, will be supposed to be taking on certain schools, will be supposed to be integrating with their respective geographical area towards larger interaction between the faculty members and the students. That is what is expected, and that is what exactly something of the schemes of AICTE, where we have Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. These Unnat Bharat Abhiyan schemes are basically nothing but your community support, society support, and kind of a payback to the society where we are. That is what is required of the educational institutes, a physical connect to the society. So this is what is expected, and towards this it will also be multiple exchanges between faculty member and students towards making students that much more aware of their futuristic aspects, towards making that much confident and capable to pick up education in the manner they desire. Now, please be very correct in understanding what I'm saying. In the manner they desire means the students will then be made to undergo pick and choose of the subject for the purposes of education. And this is exactly what is called as learner-centric education. This is another very important aspect of the national education policy. That is, the whole education system will be learner-centric, in which the student or the learner is free to pick and choose the subjects or the discipline, or for that matter, the course which they proceed or they want to take. This is where, once this kind of a system happens, it's going to be a shift from the present set of education system which is happening to the system of education which will then be more into the hands of the students. And once we go from here, move ahead to the next one, and the last one is called as the 4, which is called as secondary level, and this is where classes 9, 10th, 11th, and where classes 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th comes in. We are talking on learner-centric, and when we continue from learner-centric to secondary level, please understand even CBSE has now allowed multiple subjects to be thrown open to a student, for a student to pick and choose his subjects and then undergo education. When the number of subjects have been made open to students to undergo education, some of them even happen to be artificial intelligence and robotics. So please see and understand that even at school level, now we are bringing in subjects of the content and nature of artificial intelligence and robotics. When you have these subjects at school level, this means that we need to be training our faculty members also on these subjects, which are nothing but emerging areas or disruptive technologies. Once you have emerging areas and disruptive technologies being given to students, there needs to be centralized activity to promote education in teachers, and this is where AICTE has come out with an MOU with CBSE. We have now training school teachers on these emerging areas. But what I want to bring out from this, is that this particular system of education calls for a education which then goes on by the name of multidisciplinary. This multidisciplinary concept of education is something which one needs to understand, that multidisciplinary in education system breaks down into two aspects. One happens to be education and number two happens to be institutions. Once we talk about multidisciplinary in academics means a kind of an education given to a student wherein he is given an exposure on multiple aspects of the holistic education. Multiple aspects of holistic education can only be given by certain framework, and the structural framework or proposed framework, which can vary. It is not a fixed, which can vary. Presently proposed, what is just a dynamic proposal, is 40-20-20-20, with 40% of the overall credits which are applicable for a, whether it's a certificate, a diploma, PG diploma, or a degree course. 40% of the credits to be core subjects, next 20 to be core electives, next 20 to be basic sciences and humanities, and the last 20 to be open electives. You can understand and see very well, first 40 and the 20 combined is for core. That means the primacy and importance of the core subjects is very much maintained. Then comes the next 20 is for basic sciences and humanities. Basic sciences and humanities makes this whole system as interdisciplinary. And the last is open electives. This is exactly where it makes multidisciplinary. Now, open electives can be anything, any other subject need not necessary from the domain which we have taken. It can be picked up from any aspect, it can be picked up from any subject, and then going about to impart education. This is exactly where in open electives, now that particular subject of Lok Vidya which I was talking, and I told each one of you to please remember that I will tell you how to incorporate Lok Vidya as a credit-based activity to be coming into this. And when Lok Vidya comes into this, you can put it as an optional credit-based activity into your open electives. Why only Lok Vidya? In addition to Lok Vidya, because professional education speaks about subjects such as agriculture, health, and legal. So you can have a credit-based courses which can be designed for agriculture, health, and legal, and then you can be giving this to the students as part of their electives in open electives basket. At AICTE, we also recommend why only these three. You can have multiple more subjects. The subject which can be many more can be universal human values, Indian knowledge system, Indian dance, yoga, music, name a subject, and that can be put into this particular basket of open electives. That is how you achieve multidisciplinary concept of education. And very important to also understand what's a multidisciplinary institute now. I told you multidisciplinary is two aspects. One is academics and other is institution. Now when we talk of multidisciplinary institutions, the biggest point and the start point for this particular aspect of NEP 2020 to come into play was a very fragmented system of education. When we speak about fragmented system of education, it implies that there are multiple institutes which are there in the country providing education, and each one providing education in their respective silos with absolutely no collaboration, coordination, and kind of, dependency on each other. So the institutions which are now going to be retained for the purposes of education will purely be multidisciplinary in nature. Multidisciplinary educational institutes can be by multiple ways and means. It can be by sharing of resources, infrastructure, laboratory. It can be virtual laboratory. It can be utilizing your infrastructure for one purposes in the morning and in the evening hours for other purposes. It can also be merger of institutes. This merger of institutes can be within a trust, within a company, as per AICTE norms. The merger was earlier within 2 kilometers. It has now been increased, and the merger can now be within the city limits. That is what is the ways and means of making yourself multidisciplinary. This is what exactly will be there. So the institutes of the future are going to be called as multidisciplinary higher education institutes, with no standalone single institute being there. It has also been mentioned that these multidisciplinary institutes will be one per district with minimum 3,000 students, and each one of them will be given graded autonomy. Once we speak about graded autonomy, autonomy means freedom. Freedom in education is freedom in academics, finance, administration, and expansion. Let us limit ourselves to only academics. Autonomy in academics means freedom to design course content, curriculum, and offer the manner in which you want. It is very important to understand why I'm talking of autonomous institutes. I'm talking because there needs to be a governing structure in place. That governing structure who is going to run this autonomous institutes will surely be having a board of governors and an academic council. This board of governors and academic council have to implement another very important aspect of NEP, which happens to be multiple entry and multiple exit. This multiple entry and multiple exit model, ladies and gentlemen, is something which for each one of us to understand is that the students earlier who could not continue education for whatever reason and had to leave midway can now continue the education at the same point of time with their credits retained intact. That means they can go out of the education, come back into the education with their credits still being retained. And for this, Academic Bank of Credit has also been established. This Academic Bank of Credit, which has been established, has the regulation and guideline for the same has also already been released, with the Academic Bank of Credit now being acceptable across all the universities and autonomous institutions. This brings out a very important another aspect of NEP, which happens to be increase in the gross enrollment ratio. All these activities which I am talking will have a direct impact and impetus towards increase in the GER. Now the GER is very important to understand. In higher education is only 27.1. That means for every 100 students who are applicable to undergo education, only 27.1 students are there in higher education. So there has to be ways and means found out which can increase the GER. Once we talk about ways and means to increase GER, multiple activities which I have been talking right from the beginning: promotion of regional languages, incorporation of vocational, bringing them at par. Now when I'm talking of multidisciplinary, now when I'm talking of institutions of wherein multiple entry and exit, all these things are going to bring about an increase in the GER. Also understand, the education in last 2 years has gone completely online, even though it was forced upon us to go online. But the point which each one of us needs to understand is the online education, even thrust upon us, was taken up and handled very brilliantly by each one of you. Each faculty member rose up to the occasion for handling an online education. Today, 40% of the credits are allowed to be taken through the online education. In the times to come, percentages nobody knows, but sufficient and understandable enough that online education will 100% be there. If online education is going to be there and online education is going to be part of the education system, each one of us should be prepared that an online education related activities should be aware of, and each one faculty member should be knowing the ways and means to undertake online education. And quite obviously, this itself is going to be a major impact factor towards increase in the gross enrollment ratio. AICTE has allowed online and ODL. And when we say AICTE has allowed online and ODL, it means we have given permission to start even technical education in online and ODL. To start with, even though we have said about logistics, travel, tourism, MCA, and artificial intelligence and data sciences, we have also started even in engineering, where the hands-on experience is bare minimum, or in fact minimum, with no compromise to the quality. So online and ODL education has already been promulgated and it has already commenced. Give a thought. The whole national education policy impacts on what factor? The whole national education policy impacts on the factor of stakeholders. And one of the biggest stakeholders and prime stakeholders in this activity happens to be the students. When we talk of students, there is a full chapter on students, and that chapter on students goes by the name of inclusive education. When we talk of inclusive education, that means access, equity, equality. Then we also speak about autonomy, accountability, affordability, and quality. There are 6-7 terms important for you to understand each one of them, because some of them you are implementing, some of them you are doing it in your workplace, but collectively all of them together classify as an inclusive education. Access means giving an opportunity to each and every platform, whether it be your laboratory, infrastructure, whether it be teachers. In today's time, even online and internet. Equality is no differentiation between any students for the purposes of caste, culture, religion, or financial status. Equity is understanding special needs of each and every student and then focusing on that specific need. Autonomy, I told you, it's a freedom. Along with autonomy, always remember, accountability keeps coming in. Accountability is here of faculty members, and hence multiple initiative schemes towards faculty development, and later on, their accountability by means of 360-degree feedback mechanism. Affordability is making education system financially viable, bringing down the education cost. Some of them by going online, some of them by, ways and means to alter the fee structure. Some of them giving them an option to go in multidisciplinary concept of education. This is called as bringing in the cost structure of an education system. And last but not the least happens to be quality. Quality is different for different person, but in education, we speak a common language, and quality in education system happens to be accreditation. And hence, these multidisciplinary autonomous institutes will mandatorily be accredited. This is what is NEP as far as the multidisciplinary concept is there. And after having understood all these things, what is the end state which is desired in NEP? The end state which is desired in NEP happens to be that Indian education system should be a globalized education system wherein we will be seeing our country at the global hub of education. And when we say that we are going to be seeing our country at a global hub of education system, it is called as internationalization. Once we talk of internationalization of Indian education system, there are many ways and means to do it. Some of them academic, some of them administrative. Let us not talk of administrative. Let us only focus ourselves on academic requirements and academic needs. On academic level, the internationalization is something, if you recollect, when I was talking of open electives. At that point of time, I made it very, very clear that in open electives, in addition to multiple more subjects, why not even incorporate Indian dance, yoga, music? Why not Indian knowledge system? At that point of time, when I said that, there was a purpose. Even though the autonomous institutes are at liberty to add as many, but when we were proposing and we were saying this subject, the purpose was, should you people involve Indian system of education and Indian wisdom of education, which we have been inheriting from our Vedas and from our teachers down the line. Our Indian values, moral, culture, our tradition will be reflected through the education system, and thereby you will be having an Indianness of education. And by Indianness of education, we mean Indian way of seeing an education system. And quite believe me when we say an Indianness of education, this is going to have a direct impact on promotion of our education system at a global level. And promotion of Indian education system at a global level is something which is called as internationalization or globalization of our education. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is surely going to be bringing about lots of international students to come into our education system, and at the same time, Indian students who for whatever reasons are going abroad will also be forced to continue education system in our level. That is what is called as globalization. It is also called as globalization or internationalization of education system. That is what is the end state. The end state of every activity is, as far as NEP is concerned, that India should be seen at a global level of education system. And we surely speaking collectively together will be reaching to a platform or will be reaching to a stage where we will be at a global hub. Now, propose and let us say the student has graduated and finished his education, schooling, and comes to higher education. When he comes to higher education, the first thing that he or she sees or interacts or meet with happens to be faculty members and teachers. And once you have faculty members and teachers as the first point to come in, it becomes that much more important for a faculty member to be correctly aligned. You should be competent, capable. You should be aligned to the reality that the students of tomorrow will be much, much more better informed and better versed with the technology and with the subject content or the curriculum which is so expected out of their requirements, because it's called as a learner centric, and hence two very important chapters on NEP, and one of them happens to be integration of technology and other happens to be teachers training. Teachers training is something which is perfectly all right because that is a continuous activity which goes on. Today's forum also happens to be or classify as a teachers training. But integration of technology is something which I would like each one of you to focus on. I would request each and every faculty member and a teacher to continuously upgrade your skill sets and requirements so as to make yourself aware of the technology aspects which are so desired, and align with technology, relate yourselves with technology, and continuously keep remaining current and relevant. This is the most important aspect, that the more you relate and understand technology and bring it into your teaching and learning practices, you will continuously be wanted and found correct in the system. This is what is the natural outcome which comes out for a faculty member to take, because the whole NEP is going to be driven by faculty members. It has to be a collective effort, it has to be a combined effort, and this collective and combined effort will and has to be together. As long as we people are together, each and every one of us moves together, why not? The day is not far off when India will be at a global hub of education. That is what is we expect, that is what is the national education policy expect, and that is what we together should be moving to. Even though it's been a pleasure interacting with you people and it's a pleasure talking to you people on various aspects of NEP and the implementable activities, I would rather also like to say at the same point of time what is expected at a national level. At national level, we are going to be having a body called as HECI, Higher Education Commission of India, which is going to be having 4 verticals. First vertical is going to be NHERC, National Higher Education Regulatory Council, which will be having a single body doing the regulation. Then there's going to be HEGC, Higher Education Grants Council, which will look after the grants, along with NRF, National Research Foundation. The third body is going to be GEC, General Education Council, which will be the professional standard setting bodies, looking after the continuous evolvement and improvement in education as per internationalization and industrial needs. And fourth and the last body is going to be NAC, National Accreditation Council, which will be a single body carrying out accreditation activities. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I've been reasonably quick enough to tell you people on the various aspects of the NEP, whether it be the policy document which says, whether it be the implementable activities it says, or whether it be the multiple activities which are being done for the purposes of implementation at AICTE or at a national level. It has been my endeavor, it has been my effort to let you people understand NEP. But I would rather like to see each one of you opening up the document of NEP on your own. And I hope I have been that little bit motivating enough for you people, or I have ignited that spark so that you people can now go back and relate yourself at the NEP and at the implementation. Whichever place of working you are, whether you are in a classroom, department, institute, or at wherever, anything and everything which is written in NEP has to be implemented, and please find yourself as part of the system for implementation. Notwithstanding, once again, I would like to say that it was a pleasure talking to you people. Government Polytechnic Jashpur, it was a pleasure and honor to be coming on your platform and be speaking. I need to be thanking everyone, each one of you, the coordinators, management and staff. I need to be thanking the attendees and participants who, very painstakingly and patiently heard me out. Even though I rescheduled my talk and I was a half an hour to 40 minutes delayed, You people were gracious enough to give me that liberty to even come at that time and join. So I thank you for your patience. I thank you for each one of the points. I thank sincerely Professor Dr. R.N. Khare sir. So your contribution, you are a phenomenal person, sir. It's been a year.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Not at all, sir. It's been a year or more than a year that we have been associated, and I have actually seen the manner in which the programs from Chhattisgarh have gone up. What a beautiful way to see programs unfolding in front of our eyes. I never heard before connecting with CSVTU, the only city in Chhattisgarh I used to know was Raipur. I never knew anything beyond. But see the way today your state, your technical university, your institutes have come on the map of AICTE and on the country. This is what I want that our faculty members should drive. And Khare sir is a living example how to make such a small initiative and scheme Indianized. Sir, you have gone to the national level. Now it's your responsibility to go global also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Bilkul, sir, we look forward to you. We look forward to you to drive this initiative in such a manner that this thing brings Chhattisgarh to the national map. Wonderful associating with you. Great pleasure talking to you. I'm sure there must be a lot of points. I'm sure there must be a lot of queries coming up. My request is I always give one request. Please combine it and give it to me. It would be much better to handle a common queries which are coming in a combined manner for me to then give a positive reply. Thank you once again. Honored to be on your platform.
Thank you very much on behalf of Technical University Bhilai. We are very much thankful to Honorable Colonel B. Venkat Saab for sparing your valuable time, and you have given in very small time about this national education policy. And you have covered all the aspect of this comprehensive national education policy 2020. So definitely we are doing all this FDP program and non-teaching training program under your able guidance and honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. So we are very much thankful, sir. So we will also be joining at 4 p.m. for validatory function, sir. Our Director Technical Education will be the president of the function. He will also join. Okay, sir. So please join during validatory function also, sir. We are waiting. Okay, sir. So this all efforts is being done by our principal government polytechnic Jaspur, Sri Bedi Saab. So he is also interested to share few words.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your enlightening talk on NEP, sir. Thank you on the behalf of Government Polytechnic Jaspur, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, always a pleasure and honor. It was my honor to be coming on your platform. I don't think so I could have found it anywhere else. So thanks to you, sir, not to me. Thanks to you and your team, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, and warm regards to everybody. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind. So, Dr. Sao, please continue and guide to the participant about the next proceeding.
Yeah. Sure, sir. Dear participants, now is the time of test and final feedback. The link of final assessment and feedback is shared by chat box. This link will be active for 3 to 4 p.m. only. There is 50 questions and you have 1 hour to attempt the quiz. All the questions are related to all the sessions you have attended in this training program. Attempt it with a peaceful mind. In case of any doubt, inform us. All the best, all of you, for your test. एक मिनट मैं इन्फॉर्म कर रहा हूँ. The link of current session is shared and the link for the final assessment will be shared after 3 p.m. So first attempt the link assessment for the current session, and after 3 p.m. the next assessment link will be shared.